All right, nothing screams compassion like funding crack pipes for crackheads. This is what the Biden administration is planning to do under the HHS, or by way of the HHS, the Health and Human Services Department. We're going to talk about that. Also, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this, but the CDC has gotten it wrong yet again, proving that masking does not work. While you know what? The internet is so funny because so oftentimes as conservatives, we've taken on this issue. I've taken on this issue. And I know many of you that are listening in this conservative audience, more than likely, some of my colleagues on radio, in the podcast industry as well. We've tackled the misinformation from the CDC, unfortunately, from doctors that lack ethics today, lack morals today, that are willing to perpetuate this narrative. And maybe some are just naive or uninformed, but that we're willing to perpetuate the narrative that masks somehow work. We're going to just totally bust that up. It's complete and utter nonsense. The CDC gets it wrong again. And here's another thing that I'm going to do. We're going to talk about 10 Democratic politicians, Democratic elites, if you will. We'll use that word again this time, that were caught hypocritically without their mask on. We're gonna go back in the past to just remember those times where Democrats were caught without masks. I look forward to doing that. Oh, and I want to just give you this. This was breaking. Hat tip to Breitbart. This is very, very important. Now, here's what's happening in Los Angeles. Los Angeles County supervisors are voting to start firing 4,000 unvaccinated Los Angeles Sheriff Department police officers, despite the fact that in the last week, we've seen a 17% drop in the amount of cases when it comes to COVID-19 and Omicron. This is absolutely insane, but we're going to get through all of this. All right, first, nothing screams compassion. Again, like giving crack pipes to crackheads. Hat tip CNS News. The Federal Department of Health and Human Services is planning to distribute $29,500,000 in harm reduction grants for drug abusers this spring. Money that can be allocated for, and I quote, safe smoking kits supplies, meaning crack pipes and related paraphernalia. Candace Owens was on Tucker Carlson last night, and she had something to say about this, and she hit it on the head. Let's hear her out.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that the Biden administration loves Black America and cares about the health and well-being. All you have to do to be healthy in Joe Biden's America is stay at home, lock your doors, avoid sunlight, mask your children. When you step outside, let it only be to get 5 vaccines and maybe do a smash and grab crime, and then on your way back home, grab a government-sponsored crack pipe. I don't know why people think that Joe Biden doesn't care about the lives of the average Americans and Black Americans. It's so clear by the way he's running things that he actually cares. You know, it's pointedly ridiculous that this is going on, and it's sad to hear him explain how easy it is to get drugs, because we all know this is going on, and they're pretending that it's not. They're actually mocking us and pretending that we're being dramatic and discussing how horrible the lives have gotten for the average Americans, but especially those living in inner cities, as you touched on, you know, a couple of weeks ago. And Jen Psaki saying, oh, it's not happening, it's just a Fox News conspiracy theory. Anybody that's telling you that we don't care about your health, they're conspiracy theorists. In fact, we're going to fact check them and deplatform them. But the bigger thing here is that Joe Biden is not the mastermind of this plan. I mean, Joe Biden is not even a mind in this plan. He has no idea what's going on. Somebody points a direction and he goes, right? And so you have to take a look at who's actually sponsoring this. And of course, it's some George Soros NGOs that are saying this is what we need. And this is something that needs to be said. Every time you look at what is happening in the Black community, you look at who is sponsoring it, the name George Soros keeps coming up. I think it's clear that in America today, the most racist and effective man at being racist in America is George Soros, bar none. He's the district attorneys. He's got them under lock and key, telling them to release criminals in the Black community. He's got Black Lives Matter burning down, his money behind Black Lives Matter and those riots. He's got politicians on his arm telling them to defund the police, getting them behind these initiatives. Who is this harming at the end of the day? Black America. But nobody has the courage to call this out. The Biden administration is they're just puppets, right? They do what they're told? Why does this person have this much power to go after inner cities and the communities, and Black Americans are suffering and nothing is being done? No one is calling this out.
It's so transparently hateful. I mean, you're a mother. If you had a child who was struggling with drug abuse, and a lot of Americans face this, it's really sad and tough, would you give the kid needles and a crack pipe and say, look, if you're going to do it safely in your bedroom? I mean, would you? No, you'd have to hate your kids to do something like that.
Absolutely. Of course you hate your kids, and that's what it really comes down to, is that you're seeing this system over and over and over again. They like the fact that Black Americans are at the bottom of society. They like the fact that Black Americans are uninformed. They like the fact that they have drug dealers, and you have these people that are basically government dependents for the rest of their lives. And unfortunately now, what we're talking about now, these crises, it's extending amongst the racists, right? It's not even just Black America anymore. The person that you just showed is a white American. They're all drug addicts. They're all dependent on the government, and the government is happy to give them whatever they want so long as they stay at the bottom of society needing government. And that is what this administration is all about, removing power from the individual and transferring it to the government.
The article goes on to say nearly $30 million in harm reduction grants is being distributed through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration within the HHS. State, local, tribal, and nonprofit groups involved in treating drug abuse may apply for the funds. Applications were due on February 7th, and the awards up to 25 will be announced on May 15th. According to the SAMHSA, estimated awards will be up to $400,000 per year and per award over 3 years. Candace Owens got it right. Isn't it crazy how this funding is going to disproportionately affect the Black community, minority communities? As a matter of fact, as I read a little further, as we go a little further into this, this grant and this executive order by Biden spells out exactly whom he wants the crack pipes, if you will, to go to. Guys, let me just stop and think about this. And I watched Sean Hannity's show last night, and I was watching Geraldo Rivera debate. Seems like a really nice guy, really compassionate guy, and debating Dan Bongino, whom I love, and I like them both. But Geraldo was talking about his argument was this, basically. Listen. And I don't recall the exact numbers, but Geraldo was telling Dan Bongino and Sean Hannity, listen, I know this sounds horrible. This isn't pretty. We understand that this looks horrible, but using this program, apparently there's been some evidence reported by someone that programs like this, a couple of pilot programs, I believe Geraldo mentioned, were able to save 140 so lives. I don't know where those numbers come from. I don't know where Geraldo got those from. I would ask that Geraldo would follow those 140 people 5 months, 6 months, a year down the line if they're still alive. And I just think that's complete and utter nonsense. Obviously, Dan Bongino was arguing or debating against Geraldo's point. Like, basically, what then? What next? And then what happens next after all of this happens? It was a very fascinating debate between the two. And honestly, I think Candace Owens was right. There's no doubt that the Democratic Party, people like George Soros, as she mentioned, are helping to fund these crazy people that are put in places like states' attorneys' offices, attorneys general offices across the nation. There's no doubt they're helping to shape the Democrat Party. There's no doubt about that. But there's also people like Joe Biden, people within his administration that wouldn't be inclined to take the money or be swayed by these people were they not immoral people themselves. So George Soros, although Candace is completely right on this, yes, he a lot of money, a lot of power to sway these type of people, but you have to understand who the left is. The left is totally morally bankrupt. And this is why they're willing to take the money. Is this compassion? I mean, seriously, it's so funny to me how the left frames compassion in ways in which often enslave people. You ever think about that? You ever take time to think about that? The left, all of their policies, virtually all of their policies enslave people. Crack pipes to crackheads. Okay, that's going to make them better. Some are going to live maybe longer because they're in a controlled environment. But it doesn't get them off the drug. It doesn't give them hope. And in fact, it helps them or enables them to continuously destroy their body, destroy their minds, where eventually they're going to die anyway. So we prolong the death. Well, or it's a longer period of time before they end up dying. Whoop-de-doo. And I don't mean to say that to minimize it, to minimize the consequences of. Listen, drugs are bad. I'm not one of these people. I'm probably a lone. I'm probably a lone ranger on this issue. I don't believe in legalizing drugs. I don't think it's a good thing. I understand we live in a free country. People can do that. I know there's a lot of people that don't believe the way that I do, that, listen, drugs should be legal everywhere. I don't believe that the quote-unquote war on drugs has worked. I am with you there. I do believe that we need to shut down the border and prosecute the big drug dealers big time and make the punishment so severe it's just not worth it. But I think you stop the drug flow. You stop the drug flow first, and that means getting our border under control. If you want to stop the drug flow, get the borders under control. I think that's crucial. But I also believe, I also believe that drugs are just bad. They dumb people down. They dumb down the nation. They hurt people. So why would I want to? I don't believe it's freedom. Why would I want anybody to be enslaved? I mean, I've had friends. You've had friends. We all know it's true. Don't sit here and lie to yourself. I've seen people, and I've known people who over years have smoked weed. You speak to them years later, there's no doubt. It's there. It's so obvious that they've been dumbed down, that they've killed some brain cells. How long are we going to continue to play this game? Okay, it's a free country, right? States have the right to do whatever they want with the drug issue. But my argument is drugs are bad. Drugs are harmful. Drugs do dumb down people. And this is exactly what the Biden administration, perhaps with the help of people on the far left like George Soros or whomever else, this is what they want to do. These people are obsessed with power. So what do they want to do? Crack pipes for crackheads. There's no way that's compassion. Is it compassion? So because of the pandemic, we've just think about this. We've put middle-class people on welfare, and now some people have got, they've got the welfare fix, and now they're stuck. They enjoy it too much. And look what's happened to our supply chain shortage, right? People won't go back to work. I mean, it's caused all types of damage to our economy, in part because people were given welfare that didn't have welfare before. They got fat, they got lazy, and the Democrats got exactly what they wanted. They got middle-class people on welfare. Now, I thought a lot of middle-class people in America would rise up, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. This isn't compassionate. This isn't compassionate. This is slavery. I mean, I say this often, but I'm serious. I don't say this to be hyperbolic. This is slavery. It's nothing more than slavery. Crack pipes to crackheads? Are you kidding me? Makes no sense whatsoever. Here's a quote. This is the purpose of the program. The purpose of the program is to support community-based overdose prevention programs, syringe services programs, and other harm reduction services. This is according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, also known as basically SAM HSA, if you will. That's what I'll call it, SAM HSA, because I look at all of these letters together and they just, I don't know, they just do something with my mind. They play with my mind. So I'll just say SAM HSA, and that means Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So here's what the crackhead enablers, I'll call them, at the SAM HSA approve. They approve safe sex kits, including PrEP resources and condoms, safe smoking kits, supplies, and syringes to prevent and control the spread of infectious disease. So you're going to give syringes to prevent and control the spread of infectious diseases. This presumes that those people using the syringes will not take them out of a controlled environment to use them somewhere else, perhaps infecting someone else, maybe someone steps on it, maybe a child picks it up. All of these presumptions are baked in. This is why big government stinks. This is why we should always be in control of the people. Now, I'm talking about a couple of stories today, actually a few. But there's two. I want you to understand. I want you to make this connection, or I'll make it here early with you. We have lost a lot of power in the United States of America because a lot of politicians, Republicans, Democrats alike, have forgone their responsibilities as legislators and just allow bureaucracies like the HHS and the CDC to take over the powers that were granted to them in the Constitution to avoid accountability by the voters. This is extremely important. What I hate, I can't stand when I hear people talk about regulations all the time. Oh, we need more regulations for this. We need more regulations for that. In some cases, that might be true, but you have to look at each in every issue individually. In some cases, that might be true, but what regulations ultimately do is circumvent the power of the people, circumvent your power, circumvents my power. It goes right around us, and we have no say in our government anymore. So if Republicans do win back the House, and I hope they do, I believe they will, if they win back the Senate, one of the things that they need to do is they need to bust up, just like big tech, they need to bust up some of these agencies. I would. There's no reason. I'm sorry, HHS and CDC. I don't understand why we have both of them, to be honest. It seems to me that there's some duplication here, if you will. All right, but going back to this article. So safe sex kits, including PrEP resources and condoms, safe smoking kits, syringes to prevent and control the spread of infectious diseases. The Washington Free Beacon, by the way, hat tip to the Washington Free Beacon for this article. An HHS spokesman said the safe smoking kits will, and I quote, will provide pipes for users to smoke crack cocaine, crystal methamphetamine, and any illicit substance. This is kind. This is compassionate. Honestly, if you believe that this is kind, if you believe this is compassionate, may God have mercy on your soul. This is sick. This is sick. And honestly, whether it's intentional, and I do believe there's some intentionality to it, but I do believe there are a lot of dumb people. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of dumb people that buy into this nonsense. Well, they're going to do it anyway. Why not do it in a controlled environment? I'm really See, these are the people. This is the problem when you lack Judeo-Christian values. This is the problem when you try to excommunicate, if you will, God from society. People just come up with all types of crap that they think is kind, compassionate, immoral, because their morality is totally arbitrary. It's like a moving target. Well, if they feel good about it, that's good. That means I'm a good person. And I'm morally superior to you because you have standards. You have biblical standards. No, you're not. You're just a coward. You don't want to take stands on anything, so you'll just go with the flow. When you hear people say, I just go with the flow, that means they're cowards. That means that they won't take a stand on anything. That's basically what it means. I want you to understand, underserved communities. So these crack pipes going to crackheads are going in underserved communities. This is what Candace Owens was speaking on so brilliantly. Underserved communities. Underserved. What does that mean? We all know what that means, right? Underserved communities means Negroes get ready to light up the crack. and you other minorities as well. As a matter of fact, the executive order says as much. Let's dive into it a little bit. The priority populations for this program, this according to SAM HSA, the priority populations for this program are underserved communities that are greatly impacted by substance use disorders, they say. Underserved communities are defined under Section 2 of Executive Order 13985. The grant recipients will focus activities on meeting people where they're at. Now, meeting people where they're at. I'm a Christian. I go to church. I hear it's so funny. They're talking about meeting people where they're at. So that's kind of what Jesus does, right? When he's saying, listen, I offer forgiveness for sins, but that's not crack. So I guess Jesus is a little boring. See, the world gets twisted when you excommunicate God, and that's exactly where we are. Executive Order 13985, so Executive Order 13985 was issued by selected President Biden on January 21st, 2021, and it is entitled Executive Order on Advancing Racial Equity and Support for Underserved Communities through the Federal Government. And then Section 2 of the order reads as such. For purposes of this order, the term equity means the consistent and systematic, fair, just, and impartial treatment of all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment, such as blacks. Denied such treatment. Smoking crack is a treatment? Methamphetamines is a treatment? More illicit drugs, that's a treatment? This is amazing to me. So all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment, such as black, notice what these people have in common: black, Latino, indigenous Native American persons, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders, and other persons of color, members of religious minorities, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus persons with disabilities, persons who live in rural areas, and persons otherwise adversely affected by persistent poverty or inequality. Notice what the left is doing. Notice what the left is doing. And I think Candace is right. I'm not saying Biden, because we all know Biden isn't there. But I still believe that Biden is evil and he plays a part in this stuff. I don't think he's totally gone. I think he's in and out, frankly, to be honest with you. But I think he's evil. We all know that he's corrupt as all get out. Just read Peter Schweitzer's book, Red Handed. The entire corrupt Biden enterprise. Well, so we know he's corrupt. We know he is evil. We know he was evil even when he began slipping into his senility, if you will. But all they do is want to exploit victim groups. And notice who they leave out. They always leave out the white person. Why? Or at least the white conservative male, white conservative Christian male, because they always have to have victim classes, and they need to. This is what the left has to do. They constantly put us in these boxes, right? So lesbian, gay, black, and they want to try to rope everyone into their big box, but all these boxes, and in order to win elections, they've got to get all of these boxes to fit within their box, and then if they don't, they lose. See, they don't have good ideas, but what they have is victimhood, so that's what they sell. You're oppressed. That's what they sell, and because you're oppressed now, you get white men saying this is nonsense, this is crazy. They just don't care about the black community. You get Candace Owens coming out and saying, listen, this is George Soros, this is Joe Biden. These are leftists that are trying to hurt the black community, keep the black community down, and again, she's absolutely right in that. Oh, she's a sellout. It's insane. The term in Section B, underserved community, refers to populations sharing, going back to the Executive Order 13985. The term underserved communities refers to populations sharing a particular characteristic, as well as geographic communities, according to the order, that have been systematically denied a full opportunity to participate in aspects of economic, social, and civic life, as exemplified by the list and the preceding definition of equity. But can't we flip that around? Isn't it amazing how this executive order uses the word systematically, when it is the left, when it is leftist, and honestly, they're all evil. I'm sorry. I know you guys are gonna. I hate to put people in a group typically, but leftists I think are evil. They're either evil or dumb. I'm sorry. They do so much damage to people, and I'm starting to believe actually, I do believe this to some extent. There is no differentiation between leftists and the Democrat Party. If there is, please someone stand up and say so. You have some real liberals, even though they're far to the left liberals. Joe Manchin, who's not a straight down the line moderate liberal, in my opinion. I think he's, a little further to the left. But the Democrat Party has gone so far left, you don't even recognize that anymore. Kyrsten Sinema is the same. She just has a bit of common sense. And then the Democrat Party today, and I'm not talking about the laymen, all right? I'm talking about politicians, specifically the people in power. But I do think a lot of people in the Democrat Party are just naive, gullible, bought into this stuff. What the media often does is they play the blue versus the red team. And if all you concentrate on is the blue versus the red team, then you stop thinking. One of the purposes of this program, listen, my mission, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the week, basically, in a nutshell, all that I want to do is champion our Judeo-Christian values, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Those things are important. I want to get America back to I want us to be the shining city on a hill. I want to see that rugged independence again. I want to see that American spirit. I want to see that entrepreneurial spirit. And I want to see it manifested in the way that we treat each other. I want to see it manifested in factories being built up. It's simple. Constitution and Bill of Rights, Judeo-Christian values, American spirit, ingenuity, independence, we're good to go. The left wants the complete opposite because they need victims. The American spirit is totally antithetical to the Democrat platform today. It's totally antithetical. Freedom, the American dream, the ability to be able to move ahead, to use your God-given gifts to excel and go as far as you want, that's totally antithetical to what Democrats want for you. They want enslavement. This is nothing more. Crack pipes for crackheads is nothing more than enslavement. And honestly, if you believe that that is compassion, you need help. All right, let's move on to mask.
I had a good time at the Black Cat, and I think it's sad that this is even a story. The fact is, there was something that was really monumental that occurred, and that is Tony, the original members, the brothers, Raphael Sadiq and Dwayne Wiggins, who have not performed in public for, I believe, at least over 20 years. They are just really some of the most incredible artists in the history of this country and the Bay Area in particular. And the fact that that is getting lost here is very unfortunate, not to mention the incredible trumpeter, Maurice Mobetta Brown, who is just phenomenal. These incredible musicians who performed and who really uplifted the spirits of not just myself, but all of the people who were there. And from my perspective, I was there, I was eating, and I was drinking, and I was sitting with my friends, and everyone who came in there was vaccinated. So the fact that we have turned this into a story about being maskless, no, I'm not going to sip and put my mask on, sip and put my mask on, sip and put my mask on, eat and put my mask on. While I'm eating and I'm drinking, I'm going to keep my mask off. And yes, in the end time, while we're drinking, like everyone else there, we were all having a good time. And again, all vaccinated. So the fact that this is even a story is sad. And it's sad because we're missing out on the fact that we have live performances. We in San Francisco have done an incredible job around COVID. Yes, we have challenges, but this is now a distraction. And I would hope that people would spend more time on enjoying San Francisco, of going to go see Maurice Mulbetta Brown, who's only going to be here for another week at the Black Cat, and make the stories about how incredible and talented these artists are, and less about something that shouldn't even be a story in the first place.
So speaking of like live music returning, I guess there was also Metallica returning for a show at the Independent last night. Did you hear about that?
Yes, and I saw the lines, and the Independent is just think about it. You have these venues that are considered small for Metallica. So when I saw Metallica up there, I'm like, well, maybe it's a throwback. Maybe they're just bringing you back from a time when Metallica might have, or when they wish Metallica would have played at the Independent. No, they were at the Independent, and the line was down the block. And when you enter these venues, people are going to drink. People have to be vaccinated. And so it doesn't mean that like sip and drink, that is just not realistic. And when you go to restaurants, I was at a restaurant, same thing. I'm leaving my mask down while I'm enjoying my food. I'm not putting it on and taking it off, putting it on. People are not doing that. So that's just not realistic. You all know it's not realistic. So the fact that this story became about me and less about the artist and nightlife, which I will continue to enjoy in San Francisco, is very unfortunate.
So is this sort of the sign of the reopening, right? That we're seeing these shows now, and we can see people go in and have a good time. Is that
I think it is. The message I want to get out is support our nightlife venues. Support our restaurants. Go out and enjoy yourself. Make sure you are vaccinated because of the requirements. But don't feel as though you have to be micromanaged about mask wearing. Like, we don't need the fun police to come in and try and micromanage and tell us what we should or shouldn't be doing. We know what we need to do to protect ourselves. No one has been more conservative about protecting themselves than I have, not just because I want to set an example, but because I don't want to get COVID. And I know many people feel the same way. So let's focus on what's most important. That is getting reopened, supporting our nightlife, enjoying our great city, getting back to the normal we once enjoyed, and having a good time.
Can I ask you one more question? It's just this specific paragraph I was asked to ask you about. It says, this is in a published report, it says that a video, again, this is nitpicky, but it is what it is. A video shows a maskless breed neither seated at a table nor positioned at a stationary counter, standing and dancing without any food or drinks in her hand. She also posed for photos while not wearing a mask.
Okay, so just to be clear, I was sitting at my table, and when, I don't know about you and whether or not you know who Raphael Sadiq and Dwayne Wiggins are, but I don't know about you, but if you know who they are, I don't care where you're sitting, you're gonna get up and start dancing. My drink was sitting at the table. I got up and started dancing because I was feeling the spirit. And I wasn't thinking about a mask. I was thinking about having a good time. And in the process, I was following the health orders. Not to mention the Chronicle reporter who walked up to me had no mask in sight. When I took a picture, as I do in any case or do an interview, yes, I take my mask off when I want to take a picture. I'm vaccinated. I don't need to wear a mask and take a picture every single time. I don't want to. But at the same time, I'm being careful to not only protect myself and to protect other people. This is nitpicking. This is really unfortunate. And let me tell you, when the spirit moves you because you are watching history in the making, Bay Area royalty perform, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to turn around and look for where my mask is or look to see and make sure I'm picking up a drink. I'm just going to let the spirit move.
All right, so you've just heard that clip, that audio clip, that video from, good Lord, London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco. So here's the question that I want to pose to you. Here's the question that I want to pose to you guys. The question is, what did they know that we didn't know, and how long did they know it? How long did they know it? And when I say they, listen, hat tip to the Washington Free Beacon that's come up with a column, the 10 most absurd excuses from Democrats caught in mask scandals. And you're talking about London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco being one of them, but there's several examples, and I just want to go through them. I just want to give you a refresher course, a reminder of how hypocritical all of these leaders have been. And the question again, what did they know, and perhaps what do they know that we don't know, and how long did they know it? And actually, I can't even in all sincerity say what we didn't know, because any of us that have a modicum of common sense, it's common sense. You see a mask, you see people wearing masks. You know, I've owned a couple of small service businesses where I've had to use these masks, and it's so funny how easily things in both businesses would come through. Smells, liquid, debris, the mask to some degree, especially when you're talking about something as small as a virus, are totally worthless. I'm talking about larger debris that could sometimes get through these masks, and dust. I know people have argued for KN95 and N95 masks. Well, those are the greatest ones. We'll talk about that. There's a lot of debate out on those as well. So we'll talk about that. Just some misleading figures from the CDC as well. We'll get into all of that. But first, let me remind you of the hypocrites. The hypocrites. Hey, that's a good term. I accidentally thought of that, Gabe. Hypocrites. I'm sticking with that. All right, so the hypocrites, all of the times that the hypocrites have been caught without masks. So they've consistently supported, a lot of these people have consistently supported these stringent mask mandates. All the while, the hypocrites have been caught consistently without masks. It's insane how frequently this has happened. So they seem to believe that the mask mandates are for you and I, but they're not for themselves. So rules for thee, but not for moi. That's how Democrat politicians act, because they are obsessed with power. See, Democrats don't believe that it's a government of, for, and by the people. It's a government of you better listen to me and obey. They treat us like we're their subjects. They treat us, and I'm talking about voters, as if we're their children. When are you going to get tired of this? Aren't you upset? Aren't you done with this nonsense already? You have grown behind adults. I mean, I'm talking about the politicians that are no smarter than you and I, that are raining down from on high, as if we don't have brain cells, as if we can't think for ourselves. You're not insulted by that? It's insane. So the Free Beacon has reminded us by compiling 10 examples of these hypocrites in the Democrat Party that have broken their own mask mandates, and it's absolutely, it's just funny to think about. So the first one is this Sam Liccardo. He's the mayor of San Jose. So he said, I should have been more astute to the specifics of the regulations. And I quote, so he was busted for hosting a large Thanksgiving dinner party in violation of the state health guidelines that limited the number of households at private gatherings. On the same day his violation was exposed, Liccardo posted a tweet urging constituents to trip this out. This is how hypocritical the hypocrites are. Here's the quote. Here's what he tweeted. Cancel the big gatherings this year and focus on keeping each other safe. Homeboy was partying while he tweeted this. These people are complete and utter frauds. They're fakes. They're phonies. And they know it. Now you know it. You've been duped. See, I think a lot of people that are still obsessed just want to hold on to these mask mandates. I think it's not just a matter of being fearful of COVID. It's pride. You just don't want to admit that you've been wrong. That the people that you voted for, the people that you entrusted to put in office, have just lied to you. And that's what they've done. They've lied to us. It's really as simple as that. This guy's straight busted. Now, you know what's so funny about this too? Listen, I can tell you that I'm surrounded on the neighborhood in which I live, the block in which I live. So I'm surrounded by liberals. I mean, I know it for a fact. I live in a cul-de-sac. I mean, I've seen the fist up social justice sign, on this white teacher's house and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. But cool people. I mean, nice people. You know what I mean? But they're libs. But here's what I can say. I know they all voted for liberals, or Democrats, leftists, whatever. I know that. But I can tell you, they've had plenty of gatherings at their homes, lots of company, even at the height of the pandemic. Nobody was masked up. No one cared. But you know what they do? Everybody get in their car. They go to the grocery store, go out shopping somewhere, go out somewhere in public, and all of a sudden, everyone plays the role. They put on the fake morality. You know what that's what they are, really. They put on the fake morality with these masks because they just want to feel morally superior. Then they get back home. They have their parties. They chill with everybody maskless, unconcerned about the pandemic. I saw this daily, just like you did. It's a scam. Remember Governor Gretchen Whitmer? Oh, my God, I hope she loses. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, her excuse, well, I'm human. So here's what happened. Whitmer was once flouted the Washington, D.C. mask mandates at a crowded bar near the White House. She was photographed in East Lansing at a large maskless gathering in violation of Michigan's health department order. And Whitmer claimed again, hey, well, I'm human, which is why she neglected to, and I stop, and I pause here. She said she neglected to, quote, stop and think about, close quote, the importance of the rules. Gretchen Whitmer. That's Gretchen Whitmer for you. And just remember how hard she was cracking down. And you people that are listening in Michigan, just remember how hard she was cracking down on you guys. Complete and utter fraud. She was. And then you got Mayor Muriel Bowser of Washington, D.C. She said, don't be ridiculous. Why did she say, don't be ridiculous? Here's what happened with Muriel Bowser. Bowser accused right-wing nuts. That means people like you and I, people with common sense. Right-wing nuts is code for people with common sense. Let's just make that clear right here on the Carl Jackson Podcast with the Salem Podcast Network. By the way, make sure you follow us on Twitter, because I haven't said this. Follow us on Twitter at Carl Jackson Show, Parler at Carl Jackson Show, Facebook Carl Jackson Radio, and make sure that you subscribe to our podcast, and please share it. Go to Apple, Google, Spotify. You can watch us on Rumble. You can watch us on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, click the bell. But make sure you like and subscribe. That'll help us out, help us spread freedom to the nation, if you will. We basically want to make Americans think again. And we definitely want to make America great again. Look forward to doing that in 2022 and 2024. It's going to be some exciting times. But we have to continue to fight. And we hopefully will change more minds and just remind all Americans that America is worth fighting for. We live in a great nation. So Muriel Bowser, Mayor of Washington, D.C. Again, Bowser accused right-wing nuts, a.k.a. common sense folks like you and I, of spreading disinformation after she was photographed without a mask at a wedding reception just days after imposing an indoor mask mandate throughout the district. Hypocrites. Hypocrite. The mandate included an exemption for individuals who were actively eating or drinking. So Bowser was not drinking, but implied that she was and called her critics ridiculous. And then we go to who's next on the hypocrite list. Oh, my God. Mayor Lori Lightfoot is next on the hypocrite list. She said everyone feels traumatized. You guys may remember that Lightfoot said that. And she's been a frequent violator of her own mask mandates. But she defended herself for a shooting or for shouting into a bullhorn. You guys may remember this. This was after Joe Biden was selected to be president. She was amongst enclosed, literally a crowd of people that just swarmed her, completely surrounding her. There she is, completely maskless, shouting in the bullhorn, spreading COVID, I guess. Like, no telling how many people she killed, right? That's what they would say about those of us that have common sense, that happen to be conservative. That's what they would say about us. And here was her excuse after she did that. There are times when we actually do need to have relief and come together, and I felt like that was one of those times. This has been a super hard year on everyone. Everyone feels traumatized. What a loser. Guys, I got to say this. I don't think anyone else will say this, but I'm going to say it. And I don't say it to be. I have a real issue. I think the Democrat Party uses black women badly. I'm going to have to explore that a little later in a podcast. The left will call conservative black women a Star Parker, a Candace Owens. They will be quick to call them puppets and sellouts and say that they're being used, so on, etc. Amla Epinobi is another up-and-comer doing real good for PragerU. But it's amazing to me how frequently the left uses black women, because the black women tend to like power. If you really believe that, you're still enslaved today, the black women in the Democrat Party will tend to love power. But I think the left uses black women because they know that they could push their policies even further to the left by using these women, exploiting these women that have bought into this "I'm still a victim" nonsense, despite the fact that they have powerful positions in government. I'll have to explore that a little later. And then you got Mayor London Breed, and you saw the clip, or you heard the clip to that. Who basically, I got up and I started dancing, and this was after she was caught dancing at a jazz club. So I guess she caught the Holy Spirit dancing at a jazz club. That doesn't happen too often, but it happened with Mayor London Breed. And she said, I got up and started dancing because I was feeling the Spirit, and I wasn't thinking about a mask. I was thinking about having a good time. See, the reason why she can get away with that is because she's a black woman. I'm just being real. I'm just being honest with you. She can get away with it because she's a black woman, because you know what'll happen. The boxes of people that I spoke about earlier in this podcast that exist within the Democrat box, black voters, lesbian, gay, you name it, disabled, Native Americans, everyone that Democrats want to try to fit in the box. If they lose somebody out of the box, they flip out. They go absolutely nuts. That's why they can't have black conservatives. That's why they're freaking out over the Latinos, despite the fact that they're importing illegal aliens into the country by the millions at this point. They're still freaking out because in the polls, the polling is showing that the Democrats are performing very badly amongst the Latino community, which happens to be inherently conservative. The same is true for the black community. Unfortunately, for the black community, they constantly play the race card, appeal to our emotions, and too many naive blacks and gullible blacks fall for it. It's just completely, it's just completely insane. This is where we're at. I mean, you got to make it a goal to be an individual in America, get out of these boxes that the left continues to try and create. That's exactly what they do. So they knew that black churchgoers would be down with the struggle. Mayor London Breed knew this. I guarantee you, she was trying to be. How do I put this? Mayor London Breed wanted to appeal to black churchgoers, in my opinion. You say the Holy Spirit, the Spirit was moving me. That triggers black churchgoers. And then she knew that she would have her homies, if you will, behind her. She knew she would have people standing up to her. You know who wouldn't stand up to her? White liberals, even if they thought she was being a hypocrite. And there's too many feckless Republicans to talk about this. So she knew she'd get away with it. And then you have Representative Sean Patrick Maloney. Homophobia. This is what he claimed when he was caught without a mask. Maloney's spokesman blamed disappointing homophobia. After the Free Beacon reported that the congressman was gallivanting around Europe with his partner, often without a mask, in defiance of the U.S. State Department travel guidelines. So that's what he claimed. It was homophobia when he was caught. And then you have House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. You guys all remember this. So House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, at the height of the pandemic, she had to go get her hair did, so she went down to this beauty salon. I think it was in the San Francisco area, I'm pretty sure. So she was caught on video, and she basically lied, and she said, I was set up. I take responsibility for falling for a setup. So this lady makes the appointment with a stylist in that works in a salon. So she makes this appointment. She goes to the appointment. She's caught on camera. She was set up. She wasn't set up. Those cameras were always there. She's just a hypocrite. She's a hypocrite. And now we know that. She's a complete and utter fraud. Stacey Abrams, listen, the news broke, what was it, over the weekend. Stacey Abrams, completely shameful. And this one, this one is bothersome in this way, and this just shows you how fraudulent and fake and phony all of these people are. Stacey Abrams, she says it's shameful to criticize me during Black History Month. So Black History Month is the excuse that allows Stacey Abrams to go maskless around children, maskless around staff at, where was this, at Glenwood Elementary School, I believe, in the Atlanta area. So she could go maskless. She lied about it. Turns out, Outkick reported it, that she was at the school pretty much, for hours. She was just saying she took her mask off for a pic, just completely lied about it. And then when she was busted, well, it's shameful to criticize me during Black History Month. She even went so far as to say critics were launching a false political attack on her during Black History Month. So basically, this chick played the race card. She played the race card. This is all Democrats have. All they have is hate, instinctive hate. No solutions. You hate me. Basically, is all they have. You hate me, and I'm a victim. I'm black. I'm this. I'm that. All these people that exist within boxes. It's important not to exist within a box and to be an individual. And then you have Eric Garcetti. Mayor Eric Garcetti, he says, well, I hold my breath during photos. This was after he was busted during the NFC Championship in Los Angeles. Los Angeles Rams, go Rams, 49ers played, right? In the NFC Championship game, you had Mayor Gavin Newsom. You had, Governor Gavin Newsom, you had Mayor Eric Garcetti. These people were caught taking pictures, maskless. And then what did he say? There is a 0% chance of infection from those photos because he was holding his breath. So he couldn't catch COVID because he was holding his breath. Apparently, the virus still couldn't go up his nostrils or into his eyeballs for some reason. He's special like that. The guy is a moron. The guy is a fool. And quite frankly, for those of you that keep voting for these people that are just insane in California, I wish you couldn't vote. Quite frankly, because you're doing a lot of damage, not just to the state of California, but to the country as a whole. And then you got AOC, the notorious AOC, that used to be a bartender. Now she owns a Tesla, and she's worth a buttload of money. It's pretty amazing how that happens, since she's only in her second term as a congresswoman. It's pretty fascinating how she's been able to come up in Congress when she's there serving the people. Tesla owner, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. And when she was caught right here in my state of Florida, she, without a mask, she just said, well, they're mad. The Republicans are mad just because they can't date me. Now, listen, I think she was just being facetious. I think she was just being juvenile. I think she was just throwing shade. But the point of the matter is, these people know something that we don't know, or they knew something that we didn't know at a time that we didn't know it, even though if you're a common sense conservative, more than likely you did know it. So what was it that they knew? All right, let's talk about that. All right, so what is it? What is it that these Democrats knew, these hypocrites knew, that we didn't know? When did they know it? And again, the caveat being, we as conservatives, we knew they were lying to us. But now it's fascinating. Governor Phil Murphy, all of these people, all of a sudden, backtracking on their COVID policies. All of this information is coming out. The elections are coming into play. 2022 elections. Democrats are getting nervous. What's happening? People are tired of this. People are fed up. People are done. But these people can't be allowed to get away with the damage that they've caused. The damage that these hypocrites have done to this country. I pray to God it's not irreparable. I pray to God. But they've done so much damage to our kids, damage to our economy. There's no telling how long it'll take us to recover from this. Lord willing, fighting conservatives, not weak-kneed rhinos, win in 2022 and 2024. And I think we can start turning this ship around, but we need to stand up. But so here's some of the stuff that they must have known. Hat tip Daily Signal, unmasking CDC's latest mask study, how government gets it wrong yet again, or gets it wrong again. I just added the yet for effect because I can do that, and I just wanted to do that. All right, so be on the lookout, Daily Signal says, for a CDC poster that may be appearing on Twitter, and the poster says this: people who reported always wearing a mask in indoor public settings were less likely to test positive for COVID-19 than people who didn't. Did you catch that? People who reported, again, this Twitter banner, meme, whatever says, from the CDC, by the way, people who reported always wearing a mask in indoor public settings were less likely to test positive for COVID-19 than people who did not. This is what the CDC claims. Is this true? Is this true? There's a problem with this meme or this poster that's going to be, if it's not already, circulating on Twitter. The problem is there's literally an asterisk in the poster's title. An asterisk. You know, like a Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens asterisk, which is why they didn't get into the Hall of Fame. Quite frankly, I'm in agreement with that. That's another topic for another day. All right. Having said that, you have to read the fine print at the bottom of that poster, of that meme that the CDC put out. And at the bottom, the fine print at the very bottom of the poster explains that their own study is, and I quote, not statistically significant. Not statistically significant. This is the CDC. Guys, I'm telling you, the fact that fascist Fauci, the Democratic strategist, Anthony Fauci, the fact that he has such a big platform, this should serve as a reminder to us that these bureaucrats should never, ever have such power. There should never be so much power given to one man in the United States to rule over all of us. A president doesn't have the type of power that Fauci has had, that Fauci has wielded on the American people, and in my opinion, to cover his butt. And you know for what. I'll be cautious with my wording because I want to make sure you hear this entire podcast. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Guy's a fraud. He should be in jail. Should be perp walked too. I don't say that lightly. I don't like people to go to jail. It's not a pleasant place. But there's some people that deserve to be there. Fascist Fauci is one of them. So here's what this not statistically significant means. It means the study on which this poster is established, or let me just read what they say. The study on which it based the poster didn't establish the findings that were depicted in the poster. Again, the study on which it based the poster didn't establish the findings that were depicted in the poster. So you have a meme or a poster out there circulating on Twitter from the CDC that's just lying to you. Misinformation. The CDC posted the graphic anyway, despite the fact that they were misinforming the public and lying that wearing a mask somehow lowered the risk for testing positive for COVID. Here's how. Just listen to this. You are going to blow a head gasket. If you don't, you're not human. All right. So here's what the poster says. This is about the effectiveness of cloth masks, the effectiveness of surgical masks, KN95 and N95 masks. So we've been getting this information from the CDC, and we've been told, listen, when it comes to the virus, when it comes to COVID, there is a real difference in the impact that certain masks can have, right, or the effectiveness that certain masks can have. Cloth masks, not so much. Surgical masks, a little more. KN95, N95, oh my God, we could suffer a nuclear attack from China, they'll have you believe. But this isn't the case. This isn't the case. But here's what the poster does say, and then I'll get into why this is misinformation. The poster says that cloth masks reduce the odds of testing positive by 56%. Those are really good odds. So if you wear this cloth mask, you know, the cloth mask that has gaps here on the top, the cloth mask that has gaps on the bottom, the cloth mask where you can eat a piece of fried chicken through on the side, the gaps are so big, the cloth mask somehow stop the spread of COVID-19 by 56%, according to the CDC. If you're wearing a surgical mask, 66%, despite the fact that I've worn surgical masks and I can still fit my fingers through the top, even when they're properly fitted, and I can fit my fingers through the side, even when they're properly fitted. Not as much through the bottom. They do a little better there. And then there's the N95 mask, the KN95 mask. When in my business, when I was spraying certain chemicals, I could smell the stuff with those masks. But they're protecting us from a tiny virus. Okay. So 83% effective for N95 and KN95s. And then I've even heard people call in on different shows, radio shows, talk shows, and say, well, there's a difference between the N95 and KN95. If you wear the KN95, for God's sakes, China attacks us, you're good to go. Nuclear bomb, whatever it may be. And obviously I'm being facetious, but you get the point, and I know you've heard those callers. But the poll was very badly designed, and here's what Hat Tip Daily Signal says. The made-for-Twitter visual mischaracterizes the findings of their February 4th study, and the study was so poorly designed because that the confidence intervals, what they call the confidence intervals, the range of possible results that are similar to the positive, negative in public opinion polls, plus, negative, whatever, in public opinion polls, were large enough to render its findings completely meaningless. So trip off of the range for cloth masks. So here's what the study did not tell you, or does not tell you. This is why the asterisk is there. So while the posters say the cloth masks reduce the risk of testing positive for COVID-19 by a whopping 56%, the study itself reports that wearing a cloth mask may make you 17% more likely. Let me say that again. A cloth mask may make you 17% more likely to test positive than wearing no mask at all. That is a huge freaking range. So 56% less likely to 17% more likely. That is a huge freaking gap. That is a football field. That's insane. But the CDC neglected to share that information. That's why these masks are freaking worthless. Oh, so what about the coveted N95 and KN95 masks? What about those? Hey, N95, KN95, you're straight. Cloth mask, okay, we're done with cloth masks. All right, CDC admits after over, nearly 2 years, all right, cloth masks aren't that effective, but N95, KN95, those are the way to go. So they lied to us for nearly 2 years, and then they say, well, N95, KN95, those things, they're a little more secure. And let's be honest, they are a little more secure, right? They don't have the big holes. They're better fitted, so on, etc. But are they as effective are they as effective of preventing COVID, stopping COVID, stopping the spread as these other masks? All right. So while the poster leads you to believe that N95 and KN95 masks are more protective than surgical masks, which are more protective than the cloth mask, the confidence intervals for all three masks overlap. Essentially, there's no value in wearing any mask. Here's what the survey did. All right, so first off, the survey took place from 2/21, so February of 2021, all the way through December of 2021. And then these are positive tests. So the survey was taken among Californians who had tested positive for COVID-19 in the previous 48 hours that were asked to take the survey. So Californians that had tested positive for COVID-19 within a 48-hour window. Okay, got it? Nearly 87% of the people they wanted to test refused. All right. And then that left a self-selected sample of a total of 652 people with positive tests. You know what that means? That's not a test. That is a very Tiny, tiny, tiny sample size. Tiny sample size. Why would they do this? Why would the left continue to lie to you, to perpetuate this narrative that if you wear these cloth diapers over your face, you'll save lives? What's at stake? It's obvious. The elections of 2022. It's obvious. Maybe it's not so obvious. What's at stake as well is the entire Democrat Party, and they know it. Nothing they have done has worked. Their ideology sucks. Their ideology is based in big government will take care of you. You can trust big government to take care of you, and they can reign on high. If you buy into big government, basically you don't buy into the Declaration of Independence, you don't buy into the Constitution, and you do not buy into a Judeo-Christian value system if your God is big government. Their entire party apparatus, their entire ideological apparatus is at stake behind a little cloth diaper. This is huge. This is huge. They have to keep the political theater alive. How do they keep the political theater alive? How do they keep the fear alive? How do they keep voters? Keep these diapers on your face. They have to keep the fear alive. They have to keep the political theater alive. Why? Not for your safety, not for your health, but so that they can survive in 2022. It's really, really simple. This study goes on. It gets worse. It gets worse. Guys, I hope you get mad about this. It gets worse. So here are the numbers from the negative test. They also assembled a control group of people who had tested negative within the past 48 hours. Within 48 hours, nearly 92%. So more people declined to participate in that test. They matched the self-selected, so 1,152 negative testers with 652 positive testers for age, sex, race, income, and geography, because you guys know that COVID cares about your race, cares about your income, cares about whether or not you own a penis or a vagina, cares about your age. You guys know that COVID cares about all that stuff. It's very important to COVID. Whenever you talk to the COVID virus, it'll tell you these are the things that are important to me. This is the, when I'm deciding what body to attack, what person to attack, I take into account their race, their sex, how much money they make, and then, and then we'll see. That's what COVID apparently decides. This is crazy. Here's what they didn't count. They didn't account for the vaccination status. The study reports that 78% of people who tested positive were unvaccinated or incompletely vaccinated, compared with 57% of those who tested negative. Okay. Well, Carl, let me finish. That might account for more of the differences in test results than mask. It's amazing. So this little meme circulating around on Twitter, I suspect at this point, it's just talking about mask. It leaves out some of the crucial elements. The crucial elements of the study. Yet they make a definitive, or they make it seem like they are coming to a definitive conclusion with mask wearing, where all of this little data, this information that's below, they're like, stupid, that's silly. Silly, stay away from that stuff. You'll actually learn something. You won't believe us anymore. That accounts for the difference. Other things the CDC overlooked. Positive testers were nearly 5 times more likely to be symptomatic than negative testers, 78% to 17%. And then you got with the negative testers. Negative testers were more than 3 times more likely than positive testers to get swabbed as part of a job, school-based screenings because they plan to travel or because they needed a test before undergoing some type of medical procedure. All right, so we've seen that happen, right? And then you have symptomatic versus asymptomatic. A conundrum, apparently, with the CDC, but common sense to people like you and me. So when it came to reporting COVID-19 symptoms that are more likely to test positive than asymptomatic people, or people reporting COVID-19 symptoms, which is completely obvious, are more likely to test positive, right, than asymptomatic people that are getting regular routine screenings because they want to travel. They have to do so for work. They didn't include any of this stuff. The people conducting the survey ignored all the data except for masks. All of this data that I just presented to you, they ignored all of that except for masks exclusively. The study is convoluted. They found that 60% of people with COVID-19 reported wearing them all the time, compared with 70% of those who tested negative. That result is contaminated. The study self-selection and the difference between the two groups and vaccination status and reason for testing. They lied. They just lied. And then here's some more confusion with what they call the confidence interval. The study found that wearing a mask some of the time might make you 46% more likely to test positive than wearing no mask at all. Wearing it most of the time could increase your risk by 5%. That's a football field. And the confidence intervals for those who report wearing masks most, or all the time overlap, rendering statistically valid inferences impossible. And it gets even worse. The CDC may have tested contaminated people without disclosing it. So they're testing people to determine whether or not masks work. Cloth mask again, surgical mask, KN95, N95 mask, and they didn't even test if these people had already had freaking COVID. This is our CDC. These people are complete and utterly incompetent or completely and utterly evil. I don't think there's a lot of gray matter. This is insane. This is why you don't give people like fascist Fauci so much power. Never. This can never happen again. And every single one of these Democrats that are trying to backtrack and lie and pretend that they didn't play a part in this, that they didn't collude with fascist Fauci in order to gain more power, in order to win the 2020 elections, or in order to gain an advantage in 2020, and hopefully to keep this puppy going all the way until 2022. Every single one of them needs to be held to account. This is insane. These people are a bunch of frauds. They're a bunch of liars. Do you understand how many people have died as a result of this CDC? We should never give an individual like fascist Fauci that much power. But also, that's not enough. These bureaucracies have to be cut down to size, and some of them need to go completely bye-bye. Completely gone. Completely gone. Guys, we have a fight on our hands. You know, it looks good for Republicans in 2022. But we have to continue to stand up. We have to continue to fight. We have to donate. We have to get involved. We have to do more than we did in 2020. And I think we did a lot in 2020. But the game was rigged against us, as Molly Hemingway has written about. But listen, guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. But again, I hope you take this to heart. Democrats are not compassionate. They're not compassionate, not the Democrat politicians. They're providing crack pipes to crackheads. They're lying to us about the mask data while they're not wearing masks. These people are frauds, and we need to boot them out in November. It's that simple. All right, guys, until next time, don't grow weary, doing good, and God bless. Please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and Rumble. And wherever you find a podcast, please subscribe, like, subscribe, share. our podcast. I really appreciate that. It'll really help us out as we try to help out the country. And follow us. Follow us on Twitter at Carl Jackson Show, Parler at Carl Jackson Show, Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.